Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm your Loremaster, here today for another God video. We recently had some major introductions of new deities, but we still are going through deities we have had write-ups for since first edition. So today let's look at a deity who resists being looked at, Sivanah. Let's get started. First of all, let's look at where you can find information on Sivanah yourself. As always, Gods and Magic for both editions is the first place to look, and now Divine Mysteries since it is actually out. But if you want to look behind the veil, it is not an adventure path you seek, only inner sea faiths. There is some illusions in Faiths of Balance, and Pain Adventures give us a look towards her hidden realm. As for side tangents, well, those veils will be torn away by looking at the Ancestry Guide, at various bestiaries, at Divine Mysteries, and even a look at D&D. No one knows the origin of Sivanah, which, as a goddess of illusions and mystery, suits her. It has been noted that she has been worshipped by the Kayal of the Shadow Planes, or Fetchlings, and I said Shadow Planes, I meant Netherworld. And there is much speculation that this is her home, but she was definitely not known on Golarion before Earthfall. However, what we can say about the Seventh Veil is that she is too full of unknowns, that we don't have a picture of who she is painted easily. Sivanah is known to appear as a veiled lady. What lies behind the veils is the question. Behind the first veil is the appearance of a human. Behind the second, that of an elf. The third is a halfling, the fourth is a gnome. The fifth is either a cyclops or a Nadi or Arane, as it was before remaster. Behind the sixth is a Naga. And behind the seventh, well, no one knows. Which brings us to our first side tangent, the part of the show where we look at that which has been discarded, for copyright reasons. Just because Arane were discarded in the remaster does not mean they cannot be a side tangent in these videos, especially since we still likely have were spiders. Have not come up in 2e yet, but nothing saying entropes have been retconned. That said, D&D's Arane or were spiders are not true lycanthropes, but creatures which can transform between the form of a human and that of a spider, and sometimes a hybrid form, so a Nadi are a closer comparison. They were originally made as spies towards Drow, but the end of the wars had them driven into swamps to become neutral people. Though the spider motif started rumors that the deity Loth was connected somehow to their creation. Regardless, Arane are creatures skilled in illusion, so their connection to Sivanah and their replacement of the Anadi are easily understood. Sivanah is a deity of illusions and mystery. So much about her is still unknown. While her faithful are not so unknown they cannot be talked about, Sivanah herself lives up to her domain for what we can say about her. There is speculation she is a Cater from the Maelstrom, a risen demon, or a fallen Azata. But all these guesses are just that, speculation. There are several reasons one might worship the Seventh Veil, but two of the largest are they are someone who must disguise who they are for safety, or they are just those who are in sheer awe of the unknown being enough to draw people in. As for what the followers believe, well, that is as much a secret and enigma as anything else, leading to plenty of distrust for her faith. Of course, it worships among those whose form is taken as one of the seven veils is the most common, with the Kaya, as mentioned before, being another large group of followers. Though a specific shout out to the gnomes, as they worship her as the fourth veil, and tend to depict her only as a gnomish trickster. Of course, we have another veil to examine with side tangent 2, the Nagas. The children of the goddess with Ithra, they take on the appearance of large serpents, with no human features. That was pre-remaster. They are once immortal until the loss to other deities led to Naga's mortal lifespan and their divergence into different species. They are the first rulers of Rudra, being the ones who introduced the class system to the subcontinent, before their empires collapsed for unknown reasons. Now mostly solitary, though one exception is the nation of Nagadra. The leaders of the church are the 7 masks, 7 who are secret even to each other. All edicts they give are through mirrors and reflections, or even one's own shadow, so it's hard to pin them down. Likewise, most of the church is shrouded in illusion as well. People choose to follow the goddess for different illusions they seek, and so pinning down one reason for faith is a fool's task. One thing which can be said is many priests sell illusions and disguises, but that is about it. Even their belief in government is not uniform. Some using their powers to support a strong centralized government, and some to try to tear it down. As for a place of worship, they tend to be in plain sight, because the goddess's followers love to mask one thing as another. Anything from an art gallery to a common eatery might be a disguised temple. In addition, floor doors are usually hidden, whether through layers of illusions or simply being placed in places which would normally be out of plain sight. Inside, temples are made so the eye cannot be trusted, containing oddly shaped architecture, as well as trompe l'oeils, paintings made to purposely distort one's perspective. Sivanah's realm is in the maelstrom and is known for never appearing in the same place twice. In fact, one can pass through it without realizing they are there. It's simply being a place with mirrors scattered around to show that they are actually there. How servitors and souls find a place, no one knows. So time for the miscellaneous topics. For holidays, the festival known as the 7 Veils is probably the most known thing about the entire faith. A masquerade ball after a day of celebrations of illusion magic, especially with the illusion magic doing all sorts of fantastical tricks. For holy books, the greatest is the 7th Veil, a book which concludes that there is no real truth in the world. Worship of the 7th Veil is found in places where magic is highly appreciated, like in Absalom X, as well as places where disguises are needed for safety. Those being Nidal, Numeria, Isren, and Razmiran. This last one is interesting, so let's take our third side tangent looking at a god who is not a god, Razmir. One whose only divine ally is Sivanah. Razmir is a powerful wizard who has long coveted the Starstone. However, he also has fear taking the steps across the chasm. So he did the next best thing. Used his arcane skills and financial resources to take over parts of the land of the River Kingdom, and create a nation where he is a living god, Razmiran. With a path to perfection called the 31 Steps, which he claims to have completed, he has forged a nation where his masked followers give him everything he needs, except true godhood. And so he continues to find himself on the edge of the Starstone Cathedral, longing. Rounding things off are relationships. Starting with divine allies, the severed mask is a share, the white cracked mask being surrounded by a shadowy cloak. All questions asked of them are answered with other questions. The flickering man is a lightning elemental, taking the form of a long, thin man. He is known for talking a great deal without giving any useful information. Sivanah's herald is I, a trumpeter archon, shrouded in a veil that obscures all its body. It is unknown it has been known both to watch impressive examples of illusion magic and take forms to mess with worshippers of Zon-Kuthon. As for other gods, the faith of Nethys gets along well with Sivanah's faithful when illusion magic is a topic. Desna and Shaylin also admire the beauty these illusions spin. Evie Wombledazzle is sometimes connected with her as a major figure for the gnomes, but that is pretty much the only connection. She gets along well with Norgabur, with both faiths trying to outdo each other. And her only real enemy is Zon-Kuthon and his tormentors. Which brings us to our final side tangent, an examination of Kaya, or fetchlings. We talked about fetchlings in general in the past, but let's examine the differences that have grown among the Kaya themselves. Let's see. We have 2 places in the Netherworld where they mainly reside, and 2 on Golarion. The Neslari are descendants of the founders of the Shadow Plains Beacon, and they work with the Zraki, makes them especially interested in light and color. The Brightsol instead live in the island chain known as Somnol's Tears, where they make prepping and survival their lifeline. On Golarion, Wickmereth live in a sheltered valley in the Five Kings Mountain, and their societies are made around family and protection. Finally, Chadadir live in the Dal, where they are preyed upon by the worshippers of Zon-Kuthon, and they undermine the state in return. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Only having 1 deity left for Inner-Sea faiths. Will I cover that deity next month, or will I be tempted away like I was by the Devourer last year? We'll have to see, but looking at the release window, I think I'm safe this time. But as for next week, there is another series of videos I'm planning on finishing up, at least the part I'm working on. See you there.